Glenn Loury, I tend to put Glenn's right-wing piousness into perspective, balanced against his Harvard days. I tend to think that elite blacks get themselves into trouble because of what we nowadays call imposter syndrome. Now, Glenn Loury, now, now this is theoretical. This is just my opinion. I don't have data to back this up. Glenn Loury suffered a huge case of imposter syndrome. Okay, he was the youngest black tenured professor, I think, in Harvard's history. He was certainly the first, and I could be wrong, but he was certainly the first in the economics department. The dude is a heavyweight. Yet, if you read, I guess it was a New Yorker article or something like that, he felt that he couldn't perform. He felt like a fish out of water. Yeah. Therefore, he turned to drugs and wedlock and acting all hood. Now, this dude is a tenured Harvard professor in a STEM, arguably, and I tend to agree, economics, especially his branch of economics, it's a STEM field. It's basically theoretical mathematics. And he got there, yet he felt black. He felt, he like Clarence Thomas, wants to basically blame this on affirmative action. If he had earned it like in a truly meritocratic way, he would have been older and more established. The only reason he got tenure was because he was black. Therefore, you blame it on affirmative action. They brought me up too soon. I call bullshit.
Yeah, I call bullshit.
I'm saying it wasn't an affirmative action problem, and the same thing with Clarence Thomas. It was not an affirmative action problem. They're both victims of racism. Racism made them doubt, not affirmative action. Affirmative action was why you got the job. Let's make that, arguable point. Yeah. But the motherfucker was a MIT economics graduate. Yeah. He got through the program. It wasn't, people like Glenn Loury especially simply cannot accept the fact that you're brilliant, dude. Where the hell does being black or how you got there? Dude, you got through MIT. Period. Of course you belong. You are a tenured economics professor at arguably one of the best universities on earth. Tenured. You deserve to be there.
So
how about work harder instead of like getting all spastic about it? And the bad thing is Loury was married at the time. He wasn't some bachelor, He was married to another economics professor, a female, black woman economics professor. So I don't buy Glenn Loury's holier than thou attitude, even if he presents it as, hey, I've been there, done that. Let me tell you the pitfalls. Tell me the pitfalls. Don't pontificate about the pitfalls.
So I think one of the posts that Glenn Loury made on Twitter or in one of his shows, he did mention that the affirmative action program that got him in said they were looking for outstanding black students, right? That he was one of the two outstanding black students. And then it struck me. So I said, so it means that they were not just looking for any black students. They were not
Exactly.
just they were not just
Exactly.
looking for just they were looking for outs, and you were outstanding. That's why you got into the program. So
Exactly.
by that you are defeating the argument that affirmative action is, it's bringing in unqualified, unprepared people. Because I know Glenn Larry, that dude is smart. That man can talk. So for him to doubt himself that much, you've got to ask yourself what type of programming, what type of psychological programming allows someone
Exactly.
who is so good, who is so smart, so intelligent, to doubt his own self, to think that he's less than capable, right? To try and
And
blame something else. It's crazy.
but let me also just add another wrinkle. You're tenured. If you never wrote anything else in your damn life, you're tenured.
Mm,
And in academics, if what if you didn't produce? You're tenured. Be a good teacher.
mm,
But I think teaching wouldn't be good enough for him. In my argument, and I've already said it, and I think you agree, affirmative action wasn't his problem. Affirmative
mm,
action was not Clarence Thomas's problem. It was
mm,
imposter syndrome. It was what happened before they ever got to college and maybe
mm,
even before high school. And Clarence Thomas, in particular, now that we're talking Republicans, he went to Clarence Thomas grew up like at some point in time, he grew up in the same Black Catholic community that I grew up in. I think I've told you this before. I know people who knew Clarence Thomas as a young
mm,
man.
mm,
And I went to an all boys Catholic military school that was maybe 5% Black out of 500 students at the time. And I was in the top. Dude, I scored 10th highest in the city to get into my school. So
mm,
I was an academic elite just
mm.
off the bat.
And then
Luckily,
for someone to say, "Oh, the only reason you got in there was because of affirmative action," and be like,
dude, as a matter of fact, I had a cold when I took the entrance exam. My father asked me when he picked me up on the way back, how do you think you did? You know what I told him? I think I failed. I wasn't, I wasn't feeling well. And I think I tanked. And I was okay with that, but I didn't tank. My point is, I know how hard it is to be in an all white, all boys, elite Catholic institution. And had Clarence Thomas's problem was he grew up in an environment that wasn't as nurturing as mine.
mm,
My father, my mother, you'll never hear me. Now, of course, as a teenager, I had my problems. They weren't perfect parents, but dude, I don't know if I would have gotten through high school in that kind of pressure cooker had I
mm,
not had them. So
yes,
I know the value of a
mm,
two-parent home where the focus is on raising good kids. That's why I can be weird at times. Kids uber alles. Any
yeah,
sacrifice you make it for the kid, within reason, is a sacrifice well sacrificed, to be dumb
yeah.
about it. So
So,
the upshot, Clarence Thomas's problem, as he claims, was not affirmative action. It was racism and the firmament that he grew up in. And no one can help it. It's no one's fault, but
mm,
don't make false claims. Don't blame
yeah,
something that you shouldn't be blaming. And he and Glenn Loury, and Thomas Sowell, and I make the same argument for Thomas Sowell's upbringing.